Hey everyone, this is Jennifer, and today I'm going to show you how to make the second version of a braided beaded bracelet. In the last video I posted was a different version of this, but this is just a different version using 6mm beads. And I also showed you a different way to connect your wire. And also I ended up showing, I wasn't planning on it, but I ended up doing a different clasp than I normally do. And it's actually connected to the bracelet, so this will give you another option for a clasp on a bracelet. And I will leave all the materials that I use in the description box below, and I will leave the wire links for a 9-inch bracelet, and then you can kind of adjust for what you need for that. But if you don't mind, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell notification button, and you'll be notified whenever I upload future videos. When we get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm planning on doing a jewelry tool giveaway. So I am really excited about doing my first giveaway when we get there. So if y'all could help me get there quickly, I would really appreciate it. And also, I found out that YouTube likes to see a lot of interaction between me and you all. And the more interaction I have, the better. So if you all could leave me some comments and also hit the thumbs up button, that will help me out with getting noticed a lot, because I'm having trouble getting noticed on YouTube. And I found out that that may be the reason. If you could leave me a comment in the comment section below, tell me where you're watching from, what level jewelry maker you are, and if you have any requests for future videos. If it's something I know how to do, I would be happy to do a jewelry tutorial on it, and that really helps me with planning out my jewelry tutorials. And also listed in the description box will be a list of all my jewelry tools that I use in general, and they're all tools that I've tried out and that I trust and that I really love and use all the time. So check that out. And also I did a jewelry tools video, so if you're interested in tools or wanting to know more about them, that video can really help you out. So anyway, I hope you enjoy watching the video and the tutorial, and I hope you learned something, and I will see you in the next one. So enjoy the tutorial. Hey everyone, today I wanted to build on the last tutorial that I made, because everybody seemed to really be enjoying that tutorial of the beaded bracelet. And this is going to be another version of that bracelet. And then I'll also have a third version that I'm planning to show you at some point. But the wire I'm going to be using is 18 gauge silver. And I'm going to cut one length in 14 inches and one length in 28 inches. So we're going to connect the wires just a little bit differently today than I did in my last tutorial. And then the beads that I'm going to be using are Angelite and Aquamarine. So I've already cut my wire. I'm just going to kind of straighten this end out just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and make a wrapped loop on this end. So I'm just going to bend that wire. This will be the end that the hook connects to. So I'm going to put it on the second step up. So I'm just going to place my pliers in there just like that. And I'm going to wrap it around, but I'm just going to make a wrapped loop on here. So I'm just going to pull this around a couple times. And I want to kind of round out that loop a little bit, so I'm just going to kind of pull up on it, and that helped to round it out. You can just do a wrapped loop like you saw in the last video that I did, but I wanted to do it just a little bit differently today. And this is not a necessary step, it's just something I personally like to do to finish off a piece. But I'm going to use my electric wire rounder on this, so I don't have to sit here and squeeze with my pliers. Because my hands, I have psoriatic arthritis, and my hands have been really inflamed from the weather. So I'm going to take this small piece of wire that's sticking off of here, and I'm going to use my wire rounder on it so that it will be smooth against the skin. But if you don't want to do that, I would suggest cutting your wire off around this area and pressing it down as flat as you can get it on the top. But I just want to do this for this time. Okay, so I've got that rounded out. And to show you the difference, you can see how that is rounded. And like when I touch it, it feels smooth. And that's why I really like that electric wire rounder, because now I'm just going to bend this on around. But that's something, a tool that I recommend when you start making more jewelry and you're wanting to finish off your pieces nicely. So now I'm just going to press this little piece of wire around gently. I'm not trying to strain my hands too much today. So I'm just going to have to slowly work this around. But if you cut it right here and then press it down, it just takes a lot of hard pressing, in my opinion. And this is just easier for me. So I say do whatever is easiest for you. So I'm just pressing this around, and I find it helpful to get it down further in the jaw of my tweezer nose pliers. And then I just make sure I press that down all the way, and that is perfectly smooth as soon as I press it down. So now I'm just going to hold my wire in my pliers and just straighten that piece out, because I want it to be pretty straight for this step. And you can still connect it the way I showed you in the last video, if that's easier for you, but this is just another option. I find this a little bit more difficult than the other, but you might find it easier. But I'm just going to take this long piece of 28 inches of wire, and I'm just going to find the center, which will be like right there. And I'm going to go ahead and put it around my wire. But I'm just going to pull this on around like this. And then to get that nice and tight, I'm going to take one pair of pliers on either side. And I'm just going to pull it so it's really, really tight. And it'll still slide, but you just want to pull and get it as tight on there as you can. And then you have it connected. And like this right here is going to be the top of my piece, because that's where the loops are. So I'm going to put, so there's one side that has the two coming around, and that's going to be the back side. And then the front side is going to come up, and it's just going to be this single loop right here. And the hardest part, as I always say, of doing a piece is getting started. So what I'm going to do to start this piece out is I'm going to bend each side of this wire down. And then I'm just going to do a regular 3-strand braid, crossing each wire over once until this middle, and that way this middle wire will be in the center when I'm done doing that. So I'm just going to cross that one over. I'm just going to cross this over, and I'm just trying to pull it kind of tight. And now I'm going to cross the original middle one over. So it's like this. And I'm just going to kind of bend this wire in just a little bit, and I'm going to bend this wire in right here just a little bit. Just so it's a little bit more narrow. And then I'm going to try to keep this pinched up here, as close to the top as I possibly can. Okay, so this is where I want to be to start. So what I want to do now, just to make it easier to slide beads on, is I'm going to straighten out each length of wire. And I just ran my wire straighteners over it just once. Okay, so now I'm going to take this outside wire on the left, because this is the wire that is supposed to cross over next. And the more you do this, the more this up here will lock down. So I'm just gonna slide, and you can use 1 tone of beads, you can use 2 tones of beads, you can use as many as you want. Just make it yours. So I'm gonna start by sliding on one of my Angelite beads, right up to the top, and then I'm gonna cross that over. And then periodically run your hands down the wires. And that will help you also keep them warm, especially if you're using copper. The heat from your hands and the heating up the wire makes it a little bit more pliable. And now I'm going to slide a bead on the other outside wire, just like that. And I'm going to hold it up here, and then I'm just going to bring it over. Okay, so now that I've gotten these 2 beads on, I'm trying to keep this piece pressed up there as much as I can. So now I'm going to take an aquamarine. So I'm just sliding that up the left side outside wire and then crossing it over. And now I'm going to take the right side wire, and I'm just sliding this aquamarine up the right side outside wire, and then I'm going to hold it there, and I'm just going to cross it over. And before this gets too far, I am going to pinch this up a little better, because the further you go, the more it locks it down into place. So I'm just going to run my hands over these outside wires and also down the middle wire. And then I find it helpful to kind of press your wire and kind of bend it a little bit, just slightly, just to keep it, I don't know, it helps to kind of shape it and also helps hold it in place. So now I'm going to put a piece of Angelite on. And the further you get down the bracelet and the shorter the wires get that you're working with, the easier it gets as well. So I just slid that up that left outside wire, and now I'm just going to cross that over to the middle. And I'm just going to run my hand down that middle wire. And now I'm going to take an Angelite bead on the left outside wire, and I'm just going to slide that up. And then I'm going to hold it in place as I cross it over. And so now I'm just going to run my hand down my wires. And I just find this to be really helpful with helping your wires to curve better. I think the warmth from your hand really, copper really heats up with the warmth of your hand. And so it just seems to make the curves a little bit more gentle, a little bit nicer. And so now I'm going to take a piece of the aquamarine, and I'm just going to slide that up the left side wire, just like that. And now I'm going to kind of hold that as I cross it over. And I'm going to run my hand down that middle wire. And then I'm going to go ahead and run it down the right side wire. And so now I'm going to take an aquamarine on the right side wire. So now I'm just going to, I slid my aquamarine up. So now I'm just going to bring that over. And now that's the middle wire. So now I'm just going to take this outside wire, run my hand down it, and I'm going to take one of my purple Angelites. And I'm just going to run it up there on the outside. And then I'm just going to curve that wire to the middle. And run my hand down that wire. And now I'm going to run my hand down the right hand side wire, which is what I'm using next. So now I'm just going to take another purple Angelite. And I'm just going to slide it up that outside wire. Just like that. And now I'm just going to bring that into the middle. And I'm just going to run my hand down that. So now I'm going to bend my bracelet just a little bit, just to kind of help hold everything in place. So now I'm running my hand down the left hand side. And this also helps, besides keeping your wire warm, it also helps keep it straight. If your wire does seem to get kinked up, always you keep your wire straighteners on hand and use those if you need to. So now I've slid that bead up on the left hand side, so now I'm just bringing this over to the middle. And I'm just going to run my hand down it. And I'm going to run my hand down the right hand side. And I'm going to pick up one of my aquamarines. I'm just going to run it up the right side. And now I'm just going to bring that into the middle. And these wires are getting shorter, so it's actually getting a little bit easier to work with. So now I'm just going to run my hands down these wires, keep them nice and straight and nice and warm. So now I'm going to take some angelite and I'm just going to slide it up. Oh, and I don't know if I said, I am using 6mm beads for this. I'll put a little notation at the beginning of the video as well. So I just slid that up the left side and I crossed that over into the middle. All you're doing is a regular 3-strand braid and you're just putting a bead on the outside wire each time before you cross it over. So now I'm putting it on the right hand side and sliding that one up. And now I'm just going to cross that to the middle. And if you need to, just give the wire just a gentle tug if it looks like it needs to be tightened up at all. And I'm just going to kind of curve this around just a little bit just to help hold everything in place. I'm just going to slide my hands down all the wires. And so now I'm going to take an aquamarine and I'm going to slide it up the left side. But now I'm taking this outside wire and I'm crossing it over the middle, crossing that over to the middle. And now I'm going to warm up my right side wire and I'm just going to slide my aquamarine on here. I'm just going to slide that up and then I'm going to hold that. And I find it helpful to hold the bead as you cross over, and you don't want any harsh curves or harsh lines, you want gentle curves. So that's what you're wanting to go for. So now I'm just going to kind of bend my bracelet that I have. I don't want to bend it to a curve. I'm just giving a very gentle, slight curve. You can see just how much it's curved. And it just kind of helps me keep everything in place. So now I'm going to take an angelite and I'm going to slide it up this left wire and I'm going to hold it in place and I'm just going to cross that over. And I'm just going to slide my hand down that wire. So now I'm going to slide my hand down the right hand wire and I'm going to slide this angelite up. And then I'm just going to hold it in place, hold that one bead. I'm actually holding this bead and this bead. And I'm just going to gently curve that over. And then just give it a gentle, very gentle bend. And then I'm going to slide my hand down that middle one. And now I'm sliding my hand down the left one. So I'm going to take an aquamarine and slide it up. But I slid that bead up the left side. So now I'm just going to hold it as I gently cross and curve that wire over to the middle. And now I'm just going to run my hand down that one. Now run my hand down the right side. And now I'm going to take another aquamarine I'm just going to slide that up the right wire, the right hand. So I just slid that up the right hand side wire. So now I'm going to hold on to both my aquamarine beads, but mostly holding on to this one. And I'm just gently curving that wire over to the middle. And I'm going for a 9-inch bracelet. So I'm going to go ahead. I know I'm not there yet, but I'm going to go ahead and measure and see where I'm at. And I am at about 5 1/4 inches. And my beginning part to where I get to my first bead is about 3/4 of an inch. And then I can also adjust the hook closure at the end. And you can use whatever closure method you like, but I like the hook closure method, especially for these kind of bangle bracelets. But you have to calculate everything, like your hook closure, how much this part takes in order to get to the right length of bracelet. And I hope that was easy to understand what I was saying. Okay, so now I'm going to take an Angelite and I'm just going to slide it up my left wire. I'm going to hold it in place. I'm just going to gently cross over. And right there, that looked like it needed to be pulled in a little bit, so I just gently gave that a gentle tug. So I'm just gonna kind of run my hands over all the wires. And I find also when you run your hand over the wires, it also pulls the beads in. And so that is also one reason I do that. So now I'm going to slide an Angelite up the right side wire. So now I'm just going to run my hand down that, and then I'm going to gently curve it into the middle. So now I'm just going to run my hand down the left side and the middle wire just to keep them straightened out. And I'm going to slide the aquamarine on. And these bracelets are really fast and easy to make, and they're actually pretty popular sellers. So I've been really happy with them. So I slid that aquamarine up the left side wire, and now I'm just gently crossing it over into the middle. So now I'm going to run my hand down that middle wire just to keep it straight, and run my hand down the right hand side. And I'm going to take another aquamarine, and I'm just going to slide it up, and I'm just going to cross it over into the middle. And I'm going to slide my hand down that wire. Now, before I put my Angelite on the left-hand side wire, I'm going to slide my hand down it a few times just to warm it up, because like you always want to keep gentle curves going with this. And so now I'm going to hold that bead and just gently curve it over. I'm just going to straighten my wire out with my hand. And now I'm going to slide an Angelite up the right side wire. Just like that. And now I'm going to cross that over. And I'm going to keep an eye on the length now, because I want to try to end with the same stone that I started with. So I'm just going to pull those in and run my hand down that middle wire. And now I'm just going to measure and see where I'm at, because I know I'm getting close. So now I'm at 6 1/2 inches, and I need to calculate in, and I'm horrible at math, the 3/4 of an inch to the 6 1/2 inches, which would bring it to about 7 1/4 inches if I'm doing my math right, and I need to get to 9. So I've still got a little ways to go. So I'm just going to run my hands down my wires because they cooled off. And copper is a really good heat conductor. That's one reason I like it. Plus it's a soft wire to work with. And it's also a hypoallergenic wire from my understanding. So I'm just going to slide that aquamarine up, and I'm just going to gently curve that over and slide my hand down. And now I'm going to slide my hand down the right one, and I'm going to slide my aquamarine up the right wire. And once you get into a rhythm with these, you can make these bracelets so quickly. And I'm just going to gently cross this over into the middle, just keeping a nice tension on everything. So I'm just going to straighten my wires out. And now I'm just going to take the left wire and slide an angelite bead up. And now I'm going to pull that into the middle and run my hand down that. Now I'm going to run my hand down the right hand side wire. And I'm going to slide my angelite up that. So I'm just going to gently cross that over like that. And now I'm going to measure it, and I am at 7 1/4 inches. So if I add 3/4, I'm at 8 inches. I'm hoping I can get enough of one of each bead. Hoping I have enough room to do that. And I can always adjust the hook closure. So I'm just sliding my aquamarine up the left side, and I'm gently crossing that over into the middle. Now I'm going to run my aquamarine up the right side and gently cross that over into the middle. And I find that you get more gentle curves if you kind of hold the bead. And this one was a little loose, so I just gave that wire just a little tiny tug. So hopefully this will probably be the last set of beads that I do. So I'm going to slide this angelite up. And then I'm going to hold that bead and cross this over into the middle. And then I'm going to slide this angelite up. And I'm just going to cross that over into the middle. And I'm going to check my length. And I'm going to have to make a very small hook closure. But my wrist swells, so if it goes slightly over 9 inches, I'm not too worried. So now I'm going to do just a very simple braid, just a 3-strand braid, just like I did at the beginning. Just like that. And I want to keep it pretty tight. And so now the wire that would go over next, I'm going to take it and I'm going to cross it over this wire right here. And I'm just going to wrap it like that. And I'm just going to grab my pliers and just tighten it. That just helps get a little bit of a tighter wrap on it, but you don't have to do that. But I find that to be helpful. So now I'm just going to cut this right there. And I'm going to leave just a tiny bit of length because I want to use my wire rounder on it. And I'm going to do that with each piece of wire. Okay, so that wire is nice and rounded. So I'm just going to press that gently down with my tweezer nose pliers. And I'm just going to press it around until it's really connected around the wire. And I always feel, even when I round it, to make sure it's feeling nice and smooth. And so this wire would cross over next. So I'm going to just pull it around once and then just pull it across. And then I'm going to trim that off. And just there. I'm going to trim that off. And I'm going to use my wire rounder on this little end right here. Okay, so that feels smooth. So now I'm just going to press this down, and I'm going down really far into the jaws of my pliers to do this. And I'm actually going to try to squeeze those wraps up close together. So I'm just trying to get this folded all the way around this wire. Okay, so now that's pressed down the way that I want it. Now I want to check my measurements. And I'm actually going to do something different than I had planned because of the length of this. I'm not going to do a separate hook clasp. I'm actually going to make my clasp out of this wire right here. So to work harden that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and this doesn't work harden it completely, but it does help to just keep running your nylon jaw pliers down your wire like this. Then this is just a way that I've found to be effective. So just do that a bunch of times. And my wire is really hot right now. So that was really good. So now I'm going to see about how long. I'm going to cut this longer than what I need because I'm going to do the hook very similar to what I normally would do. And I'm not worried about this going over well over 9 inches because my wrists swell anyway. But I'm going to cut this off about right here, give myself about 1 inch to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and use my wire rounder on this tip. If you want to do a hook closure like I did in my last tutorial of the braided bracelet with the beads in the middle, you can do that. This just gives you another option to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bend my bracelet around. I'm just putting my thumbs on either end. And I'm just gently bending it to curve it. Okay, so now that I've got my bracelet curved, I'm just trying to figure out how I want my hook to go in here. If I want it to come up underneath and curve back this way, or if I want it to go through this way and touch the wrist. Which either way that I do it, since I rounded it out, it will be smooth. I think I want it to come back this way. So I'm going to fold, so I'm going to take this in the very tip of my pliers. And I'm just going to fold it up towards me. As small as I can get it, and then I'm just going to press it down just like that. And I'm just going to make sure that's pressed down nicely. And now I'm just going to take my nylon jaw pliers and I'm just going to kind of straighten that out a little bit, and I'm just going to press this the way I want it. So since I want my hook to go down into my clasp, into this part. So now I'm just going to take my 6-step bell making pliers and I'm just going to come right here, kind of right in the middle on the 3rd step up, and I'm just going to have it like this. So you have the curved part right there, and then so it's like that, so it's flat. So I'm just gonna bend that down just like that, and then this hook this hook will just slide right in like that. So that's another option that you can do for a closure. So now you have, with the other bracelet and this one, you have 2 options for closures. One where you have to cut your own hook, and one where you just leave it on the wire that you have. So to put the bracelet on, I just press it together and meet this little loop up to match up with the hook. And then I just slide it together just like that. And that's actually really easy to put on. So this is our finished piece, and you can see how it's closing on my wrist. And it's actually very easy to put on. It's actually easier than the others, so I actually really like this way. But this isn't a way I just have never done it much. But this is our finished bracelet, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. All the interaction you can give me with comments or giving me thumbs up, any interaction you can give me helps me out tremendously, because YouTube sees people interacting and they're more likely to recommend my videos to other people. So if you don't mind doing that, I would really, really appreciate that. And then also leave me a comment down below. Let me know where you're from. Let me know what other tutorials you would like to see. If it's something I know how to do, I would be more than happy to do a video on it. And I'm always looking for suggestions for videos because I want to know what you all want to see and learn. So that really does help me out a lot. And also in the description box, I leave a list of all my materials for each piece of jewelry that I make. I'm not going to leave the specific number of beads because it will vary by size, but I will leave the lengths of wire for a 9-inch bracelet and also the size beads that I use. So you can always have that as a reference. And also in the description, I leave a link to all the tools that I use in general. And if you're curious about any tools, feel free to ask. And also I did a tools video and I demonstrated a lot of my tools and how to use them and like what they do and different things. And so I've done that. And so check that video out and use that as a reference, and also use the description as a reference. But feel free to ask me any questions you want to ask. And I will look forward to seeing you in my next video. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.